Once upon a dream. The first time Elena saw him, she felt as if she already knew him. It was an odd feeling, like meeting an old friend she had somehow forgotten. The way he smiled, the warmth in his eyes, the tilt of his head when he listened, it all felt so achingly familiar. It happened at a bookstore on a rainy afternoon. She was browsing the old classic section when she reached for a weathered copy of Pride and Prejudice, only for another hand to touch it at the same time. She looked up and met his gaze. She started. About to grab it, he finished, chuckling softly. Sorry, you can take it. No, you should, but she trailed off as something strange stirred in her chest. A memory, a feeling. You look like you've seen a ghost, he said, tilting his head. Have we met before? She asked hesitantly. He studied her. Then his expression softened. That's funny. I was about to ask you the same thing. A shiver ran down her spine. Not out of fear, but because deep inside, something told her she had seen him before. Not in this lifetime, but somewhere beyond time itself. Days passed, then weeks. They kept running into each other, at the park, at the cafe near her apartment, even at the little antique shop downtown. It became a joke between them. Are you following me? Elena teased one evening as they stood in line for coffee. I was about to ask you the same thing, Daniel replied with a grin. They laughed, but deep down, they both felt it. A sense of déjà vu, like they were reliving a story written long ago. One night, as they walked by the river, Elena hesitated before saying, "This might sound crazy, but I feel like I've known you forever." Daniel stopped, his eyes searching hers. I feel it too, he admitted. Like I've loved you before. A silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Then, something flickered in his expression. A hesitation. A sadness. Elena, he whispered, I need to tell you something. Her breath caught in her throat. I do remember you. His voice was soft, filled with something unreadable. I remember everything. Elena's heart pounded. Everything. Daniel exhaled shakily. We've met before, a long time ago. In another life. Her pulse quickened. How do you know that? Because he looked away for a moment before meeting her eyes again. I remember how we died. The world seemed to tilt. The sounds of the city faded. What? In our past life, we loved each other, he said, his voice thick with emotion. But something happened, something horrible. And now we've found each other again. Elena's head spun. Her heart screamed that it was true. What happened to us? She asked. Daniel swallowed. We were torn apart. I don't remember how, but I know it ended in tragedy. And now, he reached for her hand, gripping it tightly. I don't want to lose you again. A sudden sharp chill ran through Elena's body, and then memories. Flashes of another life. A candlelit ballroom. A whispered promise. A night filled with running. A scream, a fall. Cold water swallowing her whole. She gasped, staggering back. Daniel caught her, his touch steady. Elena. I remember, she choked out. I remember you. Then, something else surfaced. A detail so sharp, so cruel, it nearly took her breath away. The reason they were torn apart. She looked up at him, horror creeping into her eyes. Daniel, she whispered. It was you. His expression froze. You killed me. A rush of fragmented memories filled her mind. The betrayal, the look in his eyes as he pushed her. The cold, unforgiving river below. The love she had trusted, turning into the hand that ended her life. Daniel's grip on her hand tightened, but this time, it felt different. Elena, he swallowed hard, his face suddenly pale. I didn't. But deep inside, he did know. He had loved her, and he had killed her. And now fate had brought them together again. The question was, had it given them a second chance? Or was this time meant to end the same way? Elena's breath was shallow, her heart hammering in her chest. The weight of the memory pressed against her like an invisible force. Daniel had killed her. But then, why did she still feel drawn to him? Daniel took a step back, his face stricken with something between disbelief and pain. Elena, I don't. He stopped, shaking his head. I didn't mean to hurt you. Tears welled in her eyes. A flash of something crossed his face recognition, and then his own memories surged forward. A castle, a storm, shadows flickering against stone walls. She had been running, her gown torn, her face streaked with tears. He had chased after her not to hurt her, but to stop her, to save her, but someone else had been there. Someone in the dark. A struggle, a desperate attempt to hold on. And then she had fallen, because of him. Daniel staggered, pressing a hand to his chest as the memories flooded back in waves. No, he whispered. I loved you. I would never. Elena wiped at her tears, her voice trembling. But you did. He looked at her, agony written in every line of his face. I was trying to save you, but I failed. His voice broke. I failed you, Elena. Silence stretched between them, heavy and raw. Then something changed. For the first time, she saw something new in his eyes, not just love, but deep, aching regret. A soul desperate to right a wrong that had haunted him for lifetimes. Elena took a shaky breath. If that's true, then fate has brought us back for a reason. Daniel's gaze locked onto hers. To give me a second chance, she nodded. And to give me the choice to forgive you. A tear slipped down his cheek. I don't deserve it, but maybe you do, she whispered. Because despite everything, my heart still knows you. She stepped closer, and he mirrored her movement, as if afraid she'd disappear. Then, with a deep breath, she reached for his hand. The moment their fingers intertwined, something warm pulsed between them, a golden light, soft and glowing. The weight of their past began to lift, the pain unraveling like a thread in the wind. They had been trapped in a cycle of tragedy. But this time, love had won. Daniel exhaled shakily. Elena, I swear this life, I will never let you go. She smiled, the warmth of it breaking through years of sorrow. Then let's start over. And as the city lights shimmered around them, they walked forward together. This time, not as doomed lovers bound by the past, but as to souls finally set free,